The 60th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz in 2005 made me think that every creative person should consider doing a work addressing the Shoah, the preferred Judaic term for the Holocaust, at some point in his or her life. And it seems to me that this is nowhere truer than here in the comic book field, which was created, developed, and built primarily by Jews, painstakingly, one comic book at a time, beginning in the 1930s when Jew hatred was about to manifest itself in one of the greatest, if not the greatest, atrocities ever committed by man against mankind. To see the rough-hewn barracks at Auschwitz filled with ordinary men who had been abused, beaten, and maltreated, starved until they had wasted away to virtual human skeletons, it is worth remembering that, but for geographic happenstance and the grace of God, any one of these ordinary men could have just as easily been Jack Kirby or Joe Simon, the co-creators of Captain America, Jerry Siegel or Joe Shuster, the co-creators of Superman, Bob Kane, the creator of Batman, or Stan Lee, the co-creator of Spider-Man, or Will Eisner, or countless others. Because the only crime for which these men whom you see here, and millions of other men and women and children who had been convicted and for which they were being punished in the barracks at Auschwitz, at Bergen-Belsen, at Buchenwald, and the other camps, was that, like these famous comic book creators, they had been born Jewish. Lest we forget, never again, are fine and noble-sounding sentiments which have attached themselves to the historical remembrance of what was done to these innocent individuals, and millions of others like them. But it seems to me that the words are largely meaningless, if, as has been the case to now, in movies, in books, in plays, and in documents of the historical record, their expressions largely, if not exclusively, being enunciated by Jews. If there is a chance of systemic Jew hatred being eliminated from our society, it can't just be Jews who speak out against it. The Shoah was done to Jews, and yes, to others as well. But the fact that to others as well has become a universal interjection when the subject of the Holocaust comes up, it seems to me, points to a central and malignant evasiveness on the part of non-Jews. The Shoah was done to Jews, so of course Jews are going to remember it, contemplate it, document it, and for Jews, lest we forget and never again, are naturally a core part of their post-1945 cultural identity, with their continued existence as a people implicitly very much at risk and very much in doubt. Jewish remembrance of the Shoah, distilled to its essence of never again, implies the self-preservation of the life of not only each individual Jew wherever he or she lives, but of all of God's chosen people wherever their collective continued existence is threatened, as that collective continued existence of the European Jew was very much threatened in Europe in the 1930s and 1940s, and is, to me, significantly different from non-Jews saying never again for behind the sheltering and disingenuous facade of how could this have happened, implying as it does that the Shoah had been a genuinely unthinkable act without precedent in non-Jewish society, as if the Shoah had been a one-in-a-million happenstance which could only have happened in Germany and only under the Nazi regime. Whereas I believe the historical record of non-Jewish culture and its tolerance for and embracing of Jew hatred shows, instead, that the Shoah was very much inevitable.